It's Vlogmas, Vlogmas, Vlogmas Day 11. All right, we're here, Vlogmas 2025, Day 11. We're going strong. Uh, I don't know when we hit cruising altitude, or maybe we're in cruising altitude now, but I'm feeling good. Um, Today, um, we're going to just talk about the tradition of Christmas. If you have any traditions, share them and let me know, and we can talk about them in the comments. That would be fun to discuss. Be sure to like, share, and subscribe. If this is your first encounter with Life with Ken, thank you. Hi, welcome. My name is Kenneth White. I created Life with Ken. It is a lifestyle brand that helps people live more confidently. You can find more details out about us at our website. Our YouTube page here is where we post some video content. And this year in particular, we are doing Vlogmas. Yes. Let me give it my Oprah Winfrey. Vlogmas! 25 days of videos. We're here. Now, these have been long form videos and there've been some shorts as well. But you're getting it. The content is coming fresh, hot, on fire. Um, but it's exciting. It's been exciting. Just the journey of going through this experience of 25 days. It's good though because it's slowing down the time, which I appreciate because I'm conscious of every day. But it's also kind of augmenting the pace in a different way as well because again I'm conscious of the fact that I'm posting something every day. It would be so I don't know. I'm hoping uh something exciting happens at on Christmas. I don't know. I don't know. There's some whimsy involved here. We started off just in my personal life and life with Ken as a growing business. We started off um on December 1st, like the first day of the month. We started off strong. So I'm grateful. I'm excited. It's day 11. We're here and we're talking about Christmas traditions. Um, so I don't, I'm not, so I grew up when all right, Christmas is kind of a dubious holiday for me. Not in a bad way. So I don't remember much about Christmas growing up. The my aunt one of my aunts once told me that my mother passed on Christmas, so that would be my earliest memory, or maybe some piece of trauma or some aspect of my brain compartmentalized that trauma and repressed it in such a way where I just don't consider it. But Christmas. And then and then hold on. Here we go. And then for my grandmother, my mother's mother, I was informed that her favorite holiday um, was Christmas, and we would always do like these big family gatherings around Christmas. So um, I remember Christmas, like my earliest memories of Christmas are tumultuous or tragic if you will, because you have the good, but then you have like this almost um flattened effect kind of undertoned humming in the background. I have a good friend of mine. um Hopefully I pray I get to see him soon. Like I love you, brother. Um Regardless about that. But yeah, so that's Christmas for me. And then uh so my mother passed when I was 5. After my mother passed, I went to go live with my grandmother and my father on my father's side. So, but I stayed in contact with my mother's side of the family, which was very nice and formative, certainly so. Um, which I appreciate. I appreciate that more. Being so connected with my mom's side of the family, I appreciate that more now. Now, uh, um, but yeah, growing up, with my dad, Thanksgiving was not Thanksgiving, Christmas, excuse me. I thought about Thanksgiving because food is what comes to mind. And again, it's family, but um when my sister and I were growing up, um we were like the darlings. So we get a lot of presents. Now we have nieces and nephews and younger cousins, and the family, by the grace of God, my family has like blossomed and bloomed and is growing and only getting bigger on that side, hopefully and prayerfully, but evidently in other ways as well. So it's just exciting. It's exciting. But like, yeah, like food, family, excitement, like, but then the tragedy is it's a different type of humdrum on the other side of it, because they're when you have a big family and when you come together, then you end up having fallouts and different sort of things. And it sucks when it happens around the holidays, because that's something that you have to be conscientious of. Like, okay, um another year, another 365 days, do I want to subject myself to what is possible? I am not harboring anything, and I have forgiven everything. I've even forgotten most of it. The only reason why I'm remembering it is because I'm returning back to this space, or considering going back to this space. And as I consider going to this space, one of my concerns is, am I opening up myself to a type of hurt that I just got finished processing in some capacity, or that I don't want to deal with again? And you kind of have to go through and think through that process sometimes. And so that's the tragic aspect of it too. So I've had this like dichotomy of Christmas in particular, of like, sad story, but also like low lows and high highs has been Christmas for me, almost like a seesaw, like that kind of thing. So I guess I wouldn't call that a tradition, but I'm like thinking about that. My more recent Christmases have been more nice, but like that's because I've taken a different approach to the holiday, I guess. Um, what was I gonna say? I was gonna name drop Seth MacFarlane, but then I'm like, I talk about him too much. But because I thought about the Smiths and their Christmases, and I also just watched a clip of the Smiths Christmases from TBS, like playing. And like, yeah, they had some rough Christmases with Santa attacking them, and then Roger turning into getting rid of Christmas, turning into Jewish Santa, um, and then just a whole lot of other shenanigans. The one where I think they went to the North Pole, or they tried to go in hiding and they couldn't, and Roger sent Jeff out into the sea somewhere because they had like these safety escape pods to get away from Santa. I don't know if this is the same episode as like Home Ba 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 Ba. And then Stan's father becoming Krampus. So like they've had rough Christmases, but even through their difficult Christmases, they learn to like, find the joy and enjoy each other. Or the time where Stan got caught in a time loop, and, and it was like right before the Christmas, and what I think it was West Chimdale. They had like the Christmas event, and Roger was selling face cream. And then the latch to the tree broke, and so, but like in the midst of all of that, whatever that kind of looks like for you, if that is something that you go through, I'm saying that I can relate because I see some of that in my experience with this holiday in particular, the tragedy of it. One of the things or aspects of tragedy is that there is good and bad. The tragic thing about tragedy is that it can be cyclical. It's hard to escape. It's hard to get out of. But in the midst of being hard to get out of, is hard to get out of because of the human nature or the sin of it all. Sometimes it's just difficult to escape the sin of it all sometimes. um and so you begin to perpetuate things. You're perpetuating hurt, and it's not necessarily because you want to perpetuate hurt. It's just that's just the tragic nature of the relationship. Romeo and Juliet, for example. You think of Romeo and Juliet, they love each other but they can't be together. That's tragic. And then, they go through all these different gesticulations, and I haven't familiarized myself with the story in some time, but then you find when um I believe it's Romeo who's dead or Juliet who's dead, but then the other person kills themselves, but then the other person's not really dead. Like, that's all of that is tragedy, the human nature of I love you so much and I want to be with you, but this isn't good for me. But I pursue it anyway. A recommendation, a book recommendation for you, is what is it called? Oh gosh, Birth of a Tragedy, Friedrich Nietzsche. Um, it's such a it's one of those things where it's like it's not perfect and it doesn't try to be perfect, but you can definitely tell that it was written in a way that was trying to um articulate an understanding of something, and he uses some of the human deities through Dionysus and Apollo in particular to create this caricature or this understanding of human nature and beauty, artificial and authentic, and identifying the character traits amongst that. And through the identifying what that is like, you begin to unravel and realize the tragedy of life in real time. And how we try to imitate art, and art imitates us back to ourselves. And um, there's beauty, but in the beauty, there's this pain to it, and there's always this give and take or back and forth kind of situation, which leads me to Jesus. Because the only reason we celebrate Christmas, that was a notification. I don't know if that came through. Um, is that was a notification. I'm saying it again because I don't know if it came through, but it rang twice. Jesus. Jesus is the reason for the season. And I have heard in my prayer time and being with the Lord that God will communicate through you through notifications sometimes. So if you're in tune in a kairos level, or if you're in tune on that fourth, fifth dimensional plane, or you're in tune in that faith spirit space, the notifications weren't just notifications because the notifications got notified after I said Jesus. Somebody, come on, if you made it this far, please like, share, and subscribe. I appreciate you. But somebody needs to familiarize themselves with Jesus. Jesus, come on, is the reason for the season. I get excited about the guy every now and again. Let everything, Shundo, let everything that have breath praise ye the Lord. Jesus, he is the reason for the season, Christmas, and I was so if Christmas, I'm like, wait, what am I saying? If Christmas is on a Sunday, I'll go to church, but then sometimes, you go and it's not on Sunday, you just go, or they'll have like a Christmas Eve service, or there will be a sunrise service. I've gone to those, or you're going to church at literally it's like 6 a.m. I think I've only done one of those, but I know those happen too. Um, but yeah, so like, yeah, I'll go to church, spend time with the Lord in that way. Be grateful for the gifts. You know, so there's this movie called Don't Look Up. It had like a legitimate cast. There was uh Tyler Perry, um gosh, what is her name? Beautiful young woman, inspiring. Gosh, I see her clear as day. Oh my gosh. I'm so sorry I'm blanking on this woman's name right now. And then there was I believe it's Jonah Hill. I'm not good with names. But it's a good movie, and I'm thinking hard. And the more I think about it, the more I'm not going to get it. So give me a second so I can call this woman's name. Hunger Games. She's a star. What the heck? This is crazy. Hold on. Here we go. It was an all-star cast, bro. Watch this. You had Jennifer Lawrence, which is who I was talking about. Kate Blanchett, Leonardo DiCaprio, Meryl Streep, Timothy Chalamet. I would love to become friends with Timothy Chalamet. I've been like manifesting stuff low key, high key over the course of Vlogmas so far. So I'm gonna put a manifestation out there. I just like his energy. I like his swag. I like how he conducts himself, and I think we could get along. Re- Regardless, maybe not. I could be wrong. um, Mark Rylance, Ariana Grande was in the movie. Yeah, Jonah Hill, I got that one right. Melanie Lazinski, Chris Evans. I like Chris Evans. Kid Cudi, Ron Perlman, Rob Morgan, Tyler Perry. Like the cast was legit. Jeff Goldblum. Shout out to Wicked. Can we talk about Wicked for a second? So I used to be a part of um theater camp. I was a I was a counselor. It was fun. I was young, but that's what I did. And we went and we saw a bunch of wonderful plays during theater camp. It was really good. It was very cultured, very culturing, very cultured, very culturing. Um, and we never saw Wicked. But then Wicked comes out, and I'm like, okay, Wicked, and I'm like, all right, I'm not going to see the movie. I guess I'll watch it on the stage, maybe eventually, because I'm cultured now. You know, I've been to plays. I'd rather go watch it on Broadway as it's meant to be watched. But regardless of that, um, my book, Get Your Mind Right, which is one of the best psychology self help books of the year, 2025 this year. You're missing out if you didn't read the book. There's quite a few people missing. No, humbly and respectfully, it's a turtle. It's one of those. There are books. Certainly, first of all, there's books that get like backing. Shout out to backing. Shout out to the big five. Shout out to publishing companies with money. Um, Shout out to local and small publishing companies that are doing their best. Even more shout out to medium sized publishing companies that are offering publishing deals. Where's the camera? Shout out to publishing companies that are offering publishing deals. But um so yeah, one of the best books of 2025. If you haven't read it, you should read it. It's gotten great reviews. The reason why I bring it up though is because it came out the same week as um Wicked One with Ariana Grande and Cynthia Erivo. And I had tough competition that week too, because also Kiki Palmer's book came out same day that week as well. So I had some tough competition. And then was it like an it was kind of like a, oh yeah, it was a gladiator a wickedly gladiator type of thing, like a Barbenheimer kind of situation that weekend too. So um everybody's having it rough in this attention economy. Get the attention however you can and capitalize on it. Use it for a meaningful purpose, to make a change, to make a difference in the world, to advocate. That's where I'm at right now. I'm ready to advocate for stuff. Um, but like in my advocacy, I can feel myself becoming. Um, so that's powerful, you know. As you do, you become. I need to. I'm about to tag mark that and make that a slogan of Life with Ken. I mean, I guess it is. Our slogan is, um, think better, do better, believe better, be better. But as you do, you become sounds really good too. I also kind of need to go harder on self actualization, and just really break it down for people about how you're living life right now. Like, let's not wait until the right moment, because the right moment isn't going to come. The right moment is when you realize that now is the time. Um, in the book, I talk about the concept of the future. Uh, the past is the present isn't real, and the future is now. Because when you look at the definition or you try to grasp some understanding of the future is anything that happens next. Next is always happening. Here comes next right now. Oop, there it goes again. Here it comes again. Next is always happening, you know? And so, how can you capitalize in the now, which is the present, which is also next, aka the future? You're living in your future right now. How can you take now and make the most out of now? I think that that is one of the ways I would teach self-actualization in a like a 2 second way, like I just did right now. I wrote an entire article on how to become, not article, yes, I've written articles, but an entire course. I'm a course writer. I used to work for a university, two universities, and part of my job from one of the universities was writing courses that got implemented throughout the entire university. Um, but yeah, I have a course on self actualization that really dives deep. It talks about all the layers about how realizing your potential and living the most, getting the most out of life is possible within the realms of your capability and achievement. Um, and it goes through the psychological and the practical and the um, not necessarily tried and true, but yeah, applied ways in which you can apply different types of thinkings and mindsets and strategies and approaches to living, um that will cause you to live in a way that makes you more you every day. And as you do, as you become and do the work that is required for you to be you, you become you in such a way that you're meant to become you, an actualized version of yourself. So I'll drop a link to the course um, in the description box below. And I'll definitely loop back around and do some more content on that. I think I have two videos up, but it can be a meaty concept. It's definitely something that I can tease out because I think so. One of the issues is when you look at the science around, or yeah, when you look at the science around self-actualization, one of the things is the most prominent theory is the outlier theory. The most prominent theory is from Maslow was an American psychologist, um, and he made the pyramid, the hierarchy of needs. And in the hierarchy of needs, at the very top is self actualization. And there, before you even get there, you have, excuse me if I don't have all of these right. Need, and also I've just been like going on a tangent at this, but you have your physical needs, your needs of safety and belonging, your needs of uh there's like two more needs in there. I think there's like emotional needs. Maybe that's why that one slipped my mind. Needs to be loved, yeah. And so but like there's these barriers to entry. There are these blocking mechanisms or gateways or glass ceilings, whatever image you have for something that keeps you out of something, uh, that is portrayed as things that will block you from reaching self actualization. The problem, though, is with that, is that's not inspiring or encouraging. And again, it's an outlier theory. More of the other theories talk about how, and these are theories from, and I don't want to name drop because I don't have all the names off the top of my head, but Carl Rogers, um, Carl Jung, I wasn't going to name drop, um, because, keeping up with names. But this other thinker talks about it from the perspective of um, humans or living species being able to achieve almost, I don't want to say a comfortable level of being, but I think the word is an ideal level of existence. And one of the examples that he uses, this other thinker on the topic uses, he says that when you, if you're in a cold room, for example, and you're in a cold room and you go to cover yourself, the act of going to cover yourself is a form of self actualization because you are achieving your ideal self in that moment. And that is more in alignment with the prevalent theory around self actualization. So, one of the concerns is the most prevailing theory is an outlier theory. But that speaks to branding, marketing, money, the era and the time that Maslow was coming up in and what needed to be communicated. Because also, I don't think we had our own theory on the subject at the time, and we needed something, and we that's what we got. Um, um, that's a bunch of segues because we can also talk about the dubiousness of psychology and this stage of the practice. Um, just with respect to, I feel like everybody's kind of doing their own thing, and I remember I had a really good professor um in undergrad who talked about the the soon coming postmodern era within psychology, or this I live in my own reality experience. And I just didn't realize that would have such like uh industry implications where we all know the same stuff. Well, I won't say we all know the same stuff, but yeah, you should have a general understanding of psychological principles, and then especially if you're more advanced in the field and you're familiarized with the DSM, and you've worked with patients or you done some type of intake, then you may have a little bit more experience and understanding with different concepts and things of that sort. But I just feel like we have this proliferation of knowledge with respect to psychology, but I don't necessarily know if the knowledge matches the skill set, or if the knowledge and the skill set meet with good intentions. And I'm not licensed. I'm skilled and knowledged on the subject, but I'm not licensed, so I don't actively go into an office and meet with patients on a regular basis. Um, that said, when I hear, and this is mostly anecdotal, but when I hear and see conversations and things going on with respect to mental health, you do see a lot of people talking about what they read or what they heard, but not necessarily fully adept with what they know with respect to um, rigorous training, with respect to having the credentials that they should have. Like, even if I don't have um, my license, I still have over 6 years of experience. I still have a master's. I'm already preparing for my uh, PhD. I just wrote one of the best psychology self-help books of the year. So like, I'm just saying, like, it's great that everybody is dealing with whatever it is they're going through. Um, but I think we should also handle some of uh the individuals that come looking for help with more care. Um, and that's all I'll say about that. Jesus is the reason for the season. I'm like, let's just keep going. I'm feeling good. Jesus is the reason for the season. Um, church, being grateful for stuff. The reason why I brought up Don't Look Up is because Jonah Hill's character, um, towards the end of the movie when everyone's finally looking up, sorry, spoiler alert, when everyone does eventually look up, and it's, getting towards the end of the movie, and everybody's praying. Jonah Hill starts praying, and he goes, "Thank God for stuff," and like I know he was acting, and I'm sure it was probably a joke, but also I felt that I felt it a little bit like, you do want to be grateful to have, grateful to give, grateful to maintain. Like, you just like, I don't know, you just start overflowing with gratefulness, grateful that God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten Son, that whosoever believes in him will not perish but have everlasting life. You just get grateful. I get grateful about it. And so like that's my Christmas experience, I guess, to the degree that that left an added and imbued value. Um, the other point that I was gonna make that I'm not gonna make, but I'm gonna cite right now is just the importance. Well, I think I did highlight that. Just stories getting amplified and traditions and insights and things of meaning being communicated and broadcast in such a way where it can be absorbed and ascertained by large groups of people. But also, we have like an idea problem as well, where um, people want profitable ideas that can be executed, but people don't want to invest the R&D into those things, That's why like and it's such a shame because I do write about this in my book as well, but the degrade art's not becoming degraded, but it's clear as day who certain people are and who the Philistines are. Um Yahweh is a god of art. He's artistic and creative. Like in the beginning, God created. Like I think I just quoted Genesis. Like that's what it says. In the beginning, God created. Um, somewhere in the. I mean, can we have a little Bible study? Okay, this is a call out for a second. Yes, I keep my Bible on. Right now, I do. I don't always, but on this occasion, and I'm like, you know what? Instead of just being wrong, let me just read. Yeah, right there. In the beginning, when God created. So like that's how we know God. That's how he introduces himself as a creator. Um, and then the Philistines, these people are individuals who despise creation, who despise the arts, who despise creativity, and are just out of alignment with that. And that's why you always see the Philistines and the Israelites fighting in the Bible. And the Philistines were one of the enemies that Israel could not beat alone, and they needed God's help and intervention. Um, and it was a struggle, but like you see that type of energy translated into the business space, translated into um, different industries where um, all the people at the top, I'm not calling these people Philistines, but they certainly operate within a Philistine mindset, at the very least, with respect to the industries that they may be a part of. Because you also have this thing called profit that business people care about. And the origins of the concept of profit are rather dubious, but it's just the idea of um, cash or money or some type of value that's like surplus value coming into you. It's just you've benefited immensely from something in some capacity, or maybe not even immensely, just in general, like whatever it took for you to put out in the world, you got more than whatever it was that you put than whatever it was required for you to put something out in the world. You got more back for that. And that more is what people may call profit. Um, the origins of that concept, again, are a little bit dubious, if you will, but people value that. People try to understand it. People study it. Um, and one of the things that happens when you start profiting off of art, um, is you want to keep profiting off of art, obviously, especially if you're in a space where art is profitable for you. Um, but on the other side of art are the artists, are the people who create the art, and um, sometimes the people who are in charge of some of these institutions don't consider. We just had this whole strike, this whole writer's strike that happened a few years ago, um, just over what I'm talking about right now. And it's becoming more rampant with respect to artificial intelligence and just how that is allowing people to quote unquote create or generate stuff. Um, and so like yeah, like the reality of the situation is it's unfortunate when you have uncreative people in charge of things that are creative, um because then they may not value or appreciate the the art is a utility. The art doesn't mean as much to them because they're not the ones creating it. They don't understand the creative process. They don't understand how you have to show up and sit behind your computer and do something, or you have to um toil with the thought process sometimes, or sometimes you just need to step away from your working space and get inspiration in other ways. They can't comprehend or appreciate that way of living. um Certainly not what that way of living produces, you know and it's so unfortunate because then I start thinking about the enemy, who is the chief uncreative. The only thing he can create is lies, and he's not even that great at that. But I just it's one of those things where it's frustrating sometimes when you think about the onslaught on creativity and how that onslaught stops and impedes good art from going forth. And then when you don't have good art that goes forth, you end up with sludge, and slop, and uh, Warner Brothers selling to either Netflix or Paramount, and them just cranking out version 5, 6, 7, 8 of a movie because they are unwilling to take a chance on new ideas, you know? And I was saying that with someone the other day, just the importance of like just put ideas out there. Why are we so afraid of ideas? I can understand why we're afraid of ideas, because some ideas are a little bit much, but you also got to understand where the ideas are coming from too. Like, and that's why not why I brought up the enemy, but why it's relevant, because some of these ideas are like, you know, spiritually imbued with a bunch of different things, and it gets deep, bro. But I'm just like I'm just saying, like, that's something to consider when you're out here, creating or considering what gets put in front of you. Like, these are ideas that have backing, ideas that were encouraged to get amplified for a particular reason or not. And yeah, you gotta be considerate of the spirit behind some of these ideas, and be considerate behind what impedes or tries to stifle ideas or the creative process, because that's insidious as well, or it can be. And people will say, oh well, it's just about management or making sure that you're producing within a timely manner and keeping you on track, and that can be true. But also sometimes accountability looks like letting people do what they got to do. Another Bible story, the three men with the talents. Jesus tells a story in a parable to heaven about a king who gives um, money or talents to three servants, and asks the servants to take care and steward the money, and then he goes off. Eventually, he comes back, and when he comes back, he checks their work. You can be a manager who delegates and trusts your employees and underlings enough that they are going to execute. Now, they may not always execute, and you can deal with that then, but you're better off dealing with that then, like, what if the king never left? The king never left, and you're talking to the guy with 5,000 and 2,000, and you're telling him how they should invest the money or how they should put the money. And it's like, I thought you were going away. like, are you trusting me to do this or aren't you? You know, and I've had that experience in work environments where, oh, we have a lot of trust in you, or we hired you to do a specific job, or we have a certain level of expectation on you. But then once you start executing, you can't even execute because they're literally up under your freaking armpit and hovering over your shoulder and doing all different types of things, trying to see how the sausage is made. If you want to see how the sausage is made, come make it yourself. Come on now. You know, you asked me to do a job, let me do the job. If and here's the wicked part too. Oh, well, I'm just here to help you. If I need your help, come on now. I will ask for it. And if I don't need your help, I'm not going to ask for it. And you're not creating a space for me to come ask you for anything if I want or do need some help. And then you wonder why the project is bad. And then it falls back on the person who's supposed to execute. And then if there isn't good accountability within the organization or the space in when you're working in, it doesn't even matter what qualms you boil up because they're just going to create a wall of ignorance and stupidity and their eyes are going to glaze. I've never, bro, can I tell you? Sometimes you speak to these gatekeepers, these Philistine like individuals, or these managers and people who are put in charge of you or above you or just in higher spaces and places. And it's literally like talking to a wall. I've seen these people's affects flatten. I've seen these people literally turn into a brick wall where it's like I'm saying words and you can just see the words bouncing off their forehead. I'm like, oh, it's like you're not listening to a word I'm saying. And then please don't have, you have to tell your own story because nobody's going to tell your story like you can tell your story. I have told certain individuals, oh, yeah, the sky is blue today and the sun is out. It's a little cloudy. I have a jacket on, but I feel good. And I've told that to somebody who's went and told it to somebody who's come back and talked to me and said, so and so said that you said the sky is green, that you're going to go running around naked on your lunch break, and that you're feeling unstable. And we're just concerned about what's going on. And I'm like, so you you got to tell your own story, and that's sometimes my frustration with people, with humanity. You got to love your neighbor. How can you love God who you haven't seen, but you love your neighbor who you do see every day? And sometimes it's frustrating, and sometimes you're like, I don't know if I love God today because like, the best thing you can do is be honest. I had a classmate in college say that honesty is the best policy. I believe we were talking about with respect to faith, but just in general. And it's so messed up because that has stuck with me. And I remember this young woman, Ayana, to this day. And I say the name and it's probably the wrong name. But I remember her to this day. And this is like several years back at this point. So, but yeah, honesty is the best policy. So I'll just tell God, look, I'm not feeling humans today. you know and like, but the good news is God can empathize because he's destroyed us on more than one occasion now. So it's or it's contemplated it or thought about it in the past. But the good news is Jesus came and died for our sins and dealt with that. So now God, when God sees us or sees our sins, he sees Jesus, and Jesus sits on the right hand of the throne of the Father and advocates for us and speaks to him, especially and particularly when the adversary shows up, because he just has nothing better to do but to go places where he's uninvited. But then, if you are a believer in what I just said, you have the power of the Holy Spirit inside of you who advocates and intercedes on your behalf to the Lord. And as the Holy Spirit talks to Jesus and Jesus talks to God, God considers your situation. And then all of a sudden, come on now, things can start to change, you know? So, yeah. But that's the tragedy. But it's beautiful. But like, that's what it is. Jesus came and he died, but then he rose again for the entire world. And then some people are just ultimately going to choose not to believe. Merry Christmas.